Well, we have to start with the highlight of the weekend, mate.
Which is,
Unfortunately, the second of Port C didn't get the job done.
but she ran well.
She ran super. Outstanding run.
Yep. Just had too much to do.
Yeah.
And when you're going at such a sedate pace up front, just want a truly run race for our girl, Port C.
I know, that's what she deserves. But, you know, the winner was 3 wide, no cover. So I think that goes to... You have to either be really good or that it was run at a farcical pace. And with all due respect to the winner, it was $46. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of like sums that up. So she'll be back, most likely at class 3, 1,800 metres.
Yeah, I think so.
We didn't kill him. This fly has been, I reckon it's the longest living fly in living memory. So yeah, class 3 at Doomben over 1,800 or 2,000 metres next start, I think in a fortnight.
Yep.
And this would be her 4th run of 8 runs this prep. So
Yeah, well, she's just continuing to, cash checks the second at Port C.
yeah,
She's a profitable horse. We've
Yes.
already made more than our money back on her,
yes,
and some,
and some.
and more. So yeah, she's a darling in our eyes.
She owes us nothing.
She owes us absolutely zero.
Fuck
This fly, honestly. my arch enemy. If you're watching on YouTube, Drifters, and you see me take a thong off and try and whack it in the face, my apologies, because I woke up this morning and potentially chose violence.
So pride of Jenni. I think that's where we have to start. Honestly, I would have loved that to be a 3-horse race. Cascadia, Mr. Brightside, Jenni.
Well, the brilliant thing about Jenni is that she gives every horse a chance.
The best athlete will win.
Yeah.
It turns out I think it's her.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Like,
she is a bloody tough horse, mate.
yeah. Well, it was your on top selection and and wasn't mine, but I did say on the podcast, I was like, that's the bet.
Yeah.
That's the bet in the race. At 4s at the time, I think she was.
Because, yeah, she was. Maybe even longer. Because Brightside, I think he opened $1.70, which he got to.
He got to $2. I didn't bet.
Yeah.
I didn't bet until he got to 2s because I was like, I'm not interested unless I can double my money.
Yeah.
So I had a bet on Brightside, but not by no means a big bet at all. But she just. You're watching the sectionals that she was doing until the 6 or 800 or whatever it was coming around the bend at Caulfield. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, gee whiz, she's going so fast.
Mate, so.
And then with 400 to go, I was like, they can't catch her.
No.
She found again.
And I should have done a bit more research on this before right now, but I'll try and do it on the fly because I said to you, I'm like, I wonder if she's only really come into her own in the last like half a dozen runs to like 12 months because she's just they figured it out. It's like, just let this fast horse run fast.
Yeah.
Break their hearts. So I'll do a bit of research on that. But raw times, right? The frustrating thing is I can't get the 600 meter splits, but I'll tell you this for free. They would be the other 3 mile races on the day at Caulfield would have run home a lot quicker than what they did in the All-Star Mile. So that on raw times, they would have beaten the following races by this amount of lengths. Fist of Fury, they would have beaten them by 19.5 lengths.
Huh.
First Immortal,
First Immortal,
they would have beaten them by 15.9 lengths. Titan of Choice, which is that country championships race, whatever it was, 14.75 lengths. So they have brained them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a vintage edition of the All-Star Mile on paper from like a quality perspective.
A lot of speed bumps.
From like top to bottom. But they finished 4th or longer.
Yeah.
But the first 3 past the post, as we kind of saw to an extent last year as well, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, certainly does. But we'll talk about futures in a separate podcast. But where does Jenni go to now?
Well, that's the thing. The first 3 past the post, are going to line up in the Australia Cup now.
Brilliant.
So, and I think the way I kind of view it is I thought they were talking Brightside about a Queen Elizabeth. I think he only has one run at 2,000 metres. Prior to Jenni, we don't know. But I assume she could run that. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Oh,
Cascadian's got the runs on the board.
Cascadian, we know, can run a good 2,000 metres. Brightside almost won a Cox Plate, so we know he's got a good 2,000 metres in him. Prior to Jenni, look, I don't see why she couldn't, but at the same time, like, if you're letting fast horses be fast, like, that works for her over a mile. An extra 400 metres on top of what she did yesterday, and Brightside would have ran it down, or Cascadian would have. But I don't know. You probably have to be a brave man to take her on over 2,000 metres against the same crop, wouldn't you?
I'm looking at this now, right? So she ran 2,000 metres at Randwick on a heavy 8 about this time last year. I wonder what race that was in. Just trying to... Oh, of course it doesn't load for me. 2,000 metres. Just bear with me for a second here. The Sharp Extensive Stakes at Randwick. 3-year-old plus Regan Bayliss. Diamill beat her home on a heavy 8, 2,000 metres.
Diamill does like a heavy deck.
Yeah. And I think she, without knowing her form intimately, I think she has some decent performances on soft and heavy ground, but like her elite performances so far have been on like the good tracks.
Yeah, I think you'd have to see it over a softer heavy deck.
Yeah. And like, you know, we have a couple of questions here, right? So Luke of beer fame, could any horse run down Jenni, or was Brightside beaten by the barrier? And then Mitch Coob had a very, very similar question. What's the ceiling for Jenni, or is Brightside beaten by the barrier? Do you think Brightside was beaten by the barrier?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm torn because, like, the race, she was going so quick that it set up for the back markers to be out. Like, if you were good enough, the pace was on for you to swoop and come over the top of her. So I'm torn in saying that no, the barrier didn't beat him, but at the same time, we know that he loves a good tough mile. So if he drew in the first, let's say, 6 gates, and he rolls a bit more forward, because he was spotting her 15 lengths at some point.
He's been doing that each run this prep though. He hasn't been stepping like he used to.
Yeah, but yeah, if he sat 3 or 4 lengths closer in the run, does he run her down? I'm not sure. I don't think a lot of horses could have run her down. I don't know if Fangirl would have been able to run her down.
Well,
and if Fangirl couldn't have, then Brightside can't.
No.
So no, I truly think that they've just figured Pride of Jenni out. And whatever she does over the mile on a dry deck in the next 12 months, shit, it's going to be incredibly hard to beat.
Yep.
Incredibly hard to beat.
So what's she have to her CV now? Champions Mile, Empire Rose, second in a Coolmore Classic, and an All-Star Mile. It's a pretty good CV.
It's a great CV for a 6-year-old mare who's, 12 months ago would have had, let's call it 20 starts for probably 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah.
As a 5-year-old mare.
It's true.
Kieran Maher, mate, just goes to show he's a genius.
He is a genius. So I'm looking through her form very, very quickly here. And the majority of her races that she's run in, I've run at very fast pace. And I think it's mostly because of her. But she's really come into her own over the last 12 months for sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that Rose Hill run. Yeah, so that was on a good 3. that day at Rose Hill over 1,500 metres where she just got pipped by Espiona at 70-1. And then, yeah, she ran fine the next 2 starts, but she was still beating like 6 or 7, like 6 to 8 lengths at her next 2 starts, but they're on soft ground. So she probably found that soft ground earlier in her career, and she probably just had the class edge.
Well, yeah, well, to be honest, like if she's 6 now, if we're looking at her 3 and 4-year-old season at the very least, they were very wet years.
Yeah.
Yep, very wet years. So, and that was a bizarre time in horse racing because yes, some ponies were beaten up on others because they were wet deckers, and the first one that comes to mind is Forbidden Love.
Yep. Like
she was unbeatable in that autumn, remember?
Yeah.
Because of the wet decks. So I'd love to know the amount of horses that could have, potentially been Group 1 performers if they found better ground.
Oh, well, Fireburn was a big.
Yeah, she's a wet decker.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with it, but,
Well, yeah, so I don't know if Brightside beats Jenni. It's the second time rather, that they've that they've met head to head, I think. So first up in was that the Orr?
Whatever it was. They're the same race.
So I think it might have been. So first up in the Orr, where she looked done at the furlong, came back. And then, yeah, obviously in the Champions Mile on a leader bias day. But she still beat Brightside by pretty much the same margin yesterday.
Yeah.
So the thing is like she just takes all the bad luck out of the equation.
Yeah. That's it. I said to you yesterday in the car, mate, like there's not many horses like that.
No.
But they're the best horses.
Like she's getting comparisons to like Sunline now. I think we need to hold our horses there.
Oh, people are absolutely absurd.
Like
Sunline's one of the best ever.
Like she's put in 3 of her career best performances, right? And I think that Champions Mile was rated up to the Cox Plate. Is that right? Oh. From what Brad was saying on like the Longines ratings or whatever.
That Longines stuff's full of shit.
But it's like a universal thing that we have somewhat, And at the time we're like, really? Yuck. But, in hindsight, she's continued to furnish because they've just basically know how to manage her and ride her and all that sort of thing. So the caveat is the 2 wins over the Flemington Carnival will be very impressive. Had all the favours because of the pattern and the way that the tracks were playing.
Yeah.
So yesterday was probably the first example where that wasn't necessarily the case because 4 of the winners came from like 6th to 7th to 8th at the 400 metres.
The track played pretty fair.
So I think given like it was out 6 metres and she was bloody 4 lanes off the fence as well.
Yep.
So it just for a race that you're trying to make into a Group 1 contest, the fact that it's not in the true position or even like 3 metres out,
Well, they change where they have it every year.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, going back to that then, do you reckon that race saved the All-Star Mile for another year?
Yeah. Like they'll definitely make some changes. Like the wildcard system was irrelevant. Mate, Magic Time had a slot in this, remember?
Yeah.
Like basically, I think the only slot holder that took it up was the Desert Lightning and Brightside because he had 2 slots.
Yeah.
Charity and the Orr.
Yeah. I still think they need to make changes because you're right. It was the easiest trifecta of all time.
Yeah. And the All-Star Miles has done that before because I remember one year, the year the Zaki won it.
Like, that was free money.
On Thunderstruck was like $8 that day. I'm like, huh? And that Quinella was paying 10-1. I was like, that is absurd.
Yeah.
So from punter's perspective, I don't mind the race. So in summary, and I think we'll do this at the end. So Cooper Cordless has no cord fame.
Yep.
We need an updated best horses in the country list ASAP. Now that, we could either tackle that with zero thought like by the end of the podcast, or we can do that to kick things off on Wednesday.
Whatever you want to do.
Let's do it Wednesday. So we'll come back to you, Cord. Now, Marcus Williams. What is going on with the Sydney tracks? With rain in the forecast, is the slipper going to be on a heavy 9? Have you seen the forecast?
Yeah, there's rain all week.
Yeah, it's not big rain though.
There's rain all week. All they'll do is they'll just adjust how much they water the track. I think we'll play the slipper day will be on a soft deck for sure.
Yeah.
It's not going to be heavy though, I hope.
I don't think so. So if I'm looking at the forecast at Rose Hill and Randwick or Sydney is different.
Yeah.
So basically just put that in because it's like western suburbs of Sydney, right? For those of you that weren't aware. Tomorrow, 0 to 8 mil. Tuesday, top of 29, 0 to 1 mil. So that could be the drying day. Wednesday, again, top of 29, 2 to 15. Thursday, top of 23, 0 to 1. Friday, no rain. Saturday, 0 to 5, top of 23. To me, that doesn't read huge numbers. No. So if they had 6 mil of rain, plus they put, for God knows what reason, they put on 15 mil of irrigation during the week. So it's basically got about 20 mil of rain. Average that out, you're probably looking at something similar, I
think so, unless it's raining on the day. Like if it's cloudy on the day and even if there's rain all week, then the track will be a soft 6 or a soft 7. You
know what is a concern though, and it would be fascinating to see what they do because the rail was off on yesterday. So they were coming down the middle of the track on where your grand final day is the week after. Is the track going to hold up after that? And where is the rail going to be? Because the fence could be well off. They could be bloody giving high fives to the fans down the outside.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. It'd be fascinating to see.
So I think the barrier draws, like, to me, gut feel without, obviously, there's so much footy to play. I'd say you want to draw, like, midfield out almost.
Oh, you want a midfield gate. It just takes all luck out of the equation, all bad luck out of the equation. Like if you're in the slipper, you want to be drawing between 6 and 12. You know, I'd say.
So I saw some commentary on racing Twitter, right? And there was a day earlier at Rose Hill where our Kobe son broke the 1200 meter track record, and I think there was another one that broke the record there that day.
Yep.
And the insinuation was, are Racing New South Wales just like over? They basically want those records to be held by the top class horses, basically. Especially, I think that 1200 meter record at Rose Hill has been held for a long time as well until it was broken. But do you think they've kind of like seen that and it's like, oof, the criticism from the King Charles meeting at the end of during the spring as well, they want fairer tracks, or the participants probably want like a genuine good 4 as well? Or are you team let Mother Nature just do its thing?
Oh, yeah, I'm probably more of the latter. Like, I think you can, as a punter, you can read into all that stuff a bit too much. I think. Like I've had this conversation with you before on the podcast. Like there's already so much that you need to absorb, and like do I want a genuine good 4 to probably a soft 5 deck to play on? Probably do. But at the same time, sometimes the back horses, which I know love a bloody really firm concrete deck, so maybe I want it to be good on that day. So you can't have everything in life as a punter. And I think if you're getting all strung up on how the deck's playing and whether they watered it enough and blah, 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 and this and that. It's just like, come on, mate, you have bigger fish to fry.
Well, we actually have an exclusive on this podcast because I sent through the track conditions to one group chat that we're involved in.
Yep.
And one of the co-owners of the Second of Portsea is in the ownership of another horse.
Yeah, who's pretty good.
That was running at Rose Hill yesterday. And one Craig Sneesby did confirm that he actually snuck into Rosehill Gardens, found the irrigation system and turned them on all right.
And actually knew exactly how much to water the track. So it was a soft 6 and wasn't going to get any heavier. He knew exactly how many millimetres to put on. Because as I think we've learned about Zougotcha, she loves a bit of cut out of the ground.
And top weight, Barrier 2 helped her.
Oh, God, yeah, it did.
The J-Mac tax, I think you're happy to take it if he gives her a ride like that every time,
That's
aren't
what
you?
I mean. It's just like, oh, the J-Mac tax. It's like, well, for a reason. For a reason.
There's
like,
90 of them.
90 Group 1s. He's our age, mate, effectively.
Yeah.
And he's got 90 Group 1s.
I know.
Like, how many did Ollie get? Like 120?
Yeah.
So he's only 30 off Ollie. And Ollie, you know, with all due respect, is in boomer territory. and J-Mac's effectively Gen X.
What?
Not Gen X, Gen Z.
Well, didn't Ollie ride in 5 decades? 80, like end of the 80s,
Yeah.
90s, 2000s, 10s, 20s.
Yeah.
So J-Mac would have ridden in what? 3 decades.
Thousands, 10s, 20s, yeah.
And he had what, 18 months to 2 years off?
Yeah.
For being a naughty boy.
Being naughty. And he's
Yeah. But hey, he clearly learned from his lesson.
he did.
And the other thing is, right, so he's ridden some absolute champions. VE probably the best, I'd say. Like, I think he was on for 9. He'd be on 9 of them because Zara rode 2, right?
Rode the Caulfield Cup and
Turnbull?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I think, the other 9 that he rode. So that's like so 10% of his Group 1 wins were from VE, who could play up. Not an easy ride.
No.
A lot of talent, not an easy ride. But you think like, all right, Romantic Warriors probably got him like, I don't know, 3 or 4.
Nature Strip.
Yeah, obviously Nature Strip as
Mo.
well. Animo. But like the others, I feel like he wins on like these type of races like a lot of the time. You know, where it's a favoured in the market, but by no means is it like a gift.
The thing is, like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for J-Mac because he's a really good jockey, so he gets the good rides, and because he gets the good rides, he doesn't need to, you know, pull a Hot Nash as often as Hot Nash needs to pull a Hot Nash for him to get a Group 1.
True.
Like Hot Nash to steal a Group 1 from J-Mac, usually like, fucking see that ride that Nash gave that thing at 15s? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's how Hot Nash gets his a lot of the time. So, like, yeah, people going on about the J-Mac tax. It's like, okay, well, how about you never bet on him on any race that he's ever in, and if you come up in the green, good on you.
Yep.
Good on you, champion.
Yep.
How about you do that?
And he didn't do it just on Zougotcha yesterday.
Mate, did you see him on Democracy Manifest, succulent Chinese meals? This is him. Like, stretching the horse. Like, got the horse longer than what it actually is.
I know.
But he's right. Going back to Zougotcha, that was a hell of a ride. Like,
was.
gate 2, all the favours, but
Yep.
just pulled the triggers at the perfect time, found the perfect part of the track.
Could have, and he would have been so tempted to steal that room on the fence as well. Like, it was wide open. Like,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been more wide open.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, he's like, no. Best ground is where I'm about to take it. Get out of my way, bang, too good. And my God, was I whipping this thing home for Craig. But I actually have a listener question from one Craig Sneesby. Do you think I drank more than 100 rums after the Coolmore victory?
Overs or unders? Well, I saw him filling up the Coolmore Classic trophy with what looked like a bottle of Dom Perignon or something. Look, Drifters, it was one Sneesby Racing's birthday yesterday of all things, and with those silks, it was St. Patrick's Day. Noel Greenhole, who's another prominent owner, he's an Irishman, is in the ownership of Zougotcha. There is silks, like the stars aligned. So, we were talking about responsibly putting your house on things during the week. I think the house equivalent for Craig Sneesby compared to us is very different gravy. So I think it would have been a good day for him.
There was a reason why the second of Portsea was $13 into $6.50.
Because it was post Zougotcha win.
Like,
The bookies were shuddering.
So one Benny Pace went to one of the local bookies on the track there at because there wasn't a Ned's bookie there at the track, obviously. But he goes to him, he's like, "Mate, 50 on the 16. What price you got?" Well, he's like, "Well, it's into like $8 now." I was like, "Huh?" Like, my missus just got 11s. He's like, "Mate, this thing is getting jammed in. Like, our liability is so fucked for this thing. like, I can't give you any more than that."
Yeah.
And I was looking on my Neds app actually about 15 minutes before the race. I said to you, I'm like, it just went from 850 to 650, like bang, like that. So
the market liked her.
Oh yeah. So, and she ran fantastic. Anyway, she was outstanding, mate. Zougotcha, so tough. Samana, another brilliant training performance that like top trainers in the land, right? The biggest stables are Walla, Ma, and I feel like they're fighting it out like in the majority of the races, right?
Yeah, they are. Is it good for racing? I'm not so sure. That they've got pretty much, a stranglehold across the eastern seaboard. But I don't know. Kieran Maher, I feel like I feel like the market still underrates him a little bit. I think because like the amount of times where like, oh, that's another Kieran Maher win, and the thing's at $10, and you look through its form, and you're like, shit, his form's not bad.
Yeah,
he's a trainer who just gets him so right on the grand final, and for him the lead up runs or whatever.
Yep,
like Explosive Jack in the Sydney Cup, mate. Like he probably knew that this thing. He was like, yeah, this thing's probably a really good chance to win.
Yeah, and yeah, like you see glimpses, especially for those stayers. Like they have to show something, like in the lead up. But what he trains Ashburn, doesn't he? Yeah, pretty sure he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he won the Pakenham Cup. But like, and that's a great example. It's like, especially anything with a 2 in front of it, i.e. 2,000 meters plus. I'm like, all right, what's Mar got? And I look at the prices. I'm like, that thing's gonna run top 4 basically. I can't say that about Waller. I can't say that, especially for the staying horses.
No.
But the other thing with these guys as well is like, especially Waller, is their 2-year-old game over the last couple of years is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it is. I tell you what, I couldn't split them. I feel like more of Mars horses have a more positive pattern though.
Yep.
That's what I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Lachlan Tricky. Who is the best 2-year-old out of Drifting, Dublin Down, and Bold Bastille?
Bold Bastille.
Yeah. Only horse to beat Hayasugi.
Yeah, Bold Bastille. She gives me Cool and Gatter vibes.
Yeah.
Not as good, but I reckon she's just a really fast horse who, as a 3-year-old, you probably keep it to those 1,000 to 1,100 metre races.
Mate, if I was in the ownership of this thing, I'd be so stoked with the stable. Mate, let the big boys contest like the Slippers and the Diamonds. We would just pick up these absolute, like pretty decent cash. And you know what? We'll just have a racehorse. And if she keeps putting on these performances at the track, she'll still have some residual value at stud.
Oh, she's got loads of residual value. She's already got 2 or 3 black type wins.
Yeah,
3 from 4. Yeah, I'd have Bold Bastille. Drifting
defies her name. Firming.
Yeah, Drifting was firming massively in the market.
Both starts though. She firmed against Bold Bastille too.
Yeah. Well, mate, the Snowdens, like, fascinated that they brought her up here instead of keeping her down in Melbourne. And I think the market sort of latched onto that. But I texted you before the race. I was like, I've got no idea who to back here, so I'm going to back Drifting, obviously. And that paid off. But mate, she had to put on the gas to get out the front, and then found something, kicked away. Like she's a smart little filly drifting.
Yeah.
Like she's not winning a slipper, but she's a smart filly.
Like she was 200 to 1 in the slipper prior to her race yesterday, and then she firms into 50s.
Yeah,
you know? Like
which is fair, I think.
Like if the track is playing a little bit, how you doing? Is she a swimmer? Who knows? We haven't really seen anything that can swim yet. Like, Storm Boy's latest run on that sticky soft 5. Like, I don't think he loved that, but also that's not the right way to kind of analyze him. I don't think, because it was a prep run. I don't know.
Storm Boy, to me, he gives me the vibes that he'd be able to get through it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what indication do you get from Switzerland that he's going to be able to get through it?
Any of them. Like, that's the thing. Like, I could, if it is like a bog, like, I don't need to bet on Storm Boy again. I've got my value out.
Yeah.
So I would be trying to find something at, like, I was looking at futures again. I think it might have been for the size, but like, hey, Sugi's at $17. You know what I mean? Like, and if she's like close to that price again in the slipper, we're seeing this Melbourne form stack up. Like, if she's double figures in the slipper, I think that's really, really silly.
Yep.
Anyway. So yeah, I would agree with that. Bold Bastille on top for me, drifting good, doubling down in the Sunlight Silks. A solid performance. The McAvoys. Who won yesterday that you thought you had a line through? This is from Lachlan Tricky again. First Immortal for me. I thought he needed further.
He was brilliant, mate.
He was great.
He's a good horse.
Yeah.
He's a good horse. Sometimes those stayers resuming over 1,600 metres can have a bit of a spike performance.
Love it. I tend to avoid him next start. But he was fantastic, mate.
He was good. He had a really long prep.
Yeah. And I think they just kind of who was it? Was it Bruce or Richo yesterday for Channel 7? They were going like, he was just like half a run behind each start. Like, they were chasing their tail with him, whereas like the sole purpose for this horse is the Melbourne Cup now.
Yeah.
So basically get his rating up, protect him in the handicap, get him rock hard fit, and then, hopefully all things go well. And I just love it when the plan is so clear so far out as well. So best of luck to the Cavanaghs. I think you got a really, really smart one.
He's a good horse.
Yeah. In terms of horses, the one that I had a line through, Zardozi for me. I think I just thought she needed further. Like, her late splits first up were fantastic, but in a to kind of like, I think it was like 2 Group 1 benchmark, so it's like they had the entitlement to kind of run on. I thought she just needed 2,000 meters plus, but she proved me wrong, mate. She was outstanding.
She was good, yeah, really good.
What happened, mate? Talk me through it.
I'm just an idiot. That's what happened. You were going to the track, and I was like, I need to get a run in before I go to the track, but I need to get it in before the All-Star Mile and the Coolmore, obviously. So I went during the races, but forgot to get my bet on, and I was going to bet on Zardozi at 10 to 1.
You gave her a good push, and I was not keen. I was again keen on the runner up.
I just thought, do you know what? It was a combination of things. I was like, you know what? Godolphin's starting to really warm up. Her closing sectionals, like you said, first up were phenomenal. Tommy Marquand, like he's been on these things in the market that are at a bigger price.
Yep.
But if you track what he's done since he got here, he's been able to get home some on double figures, like pretty regularly. So, and Zardozi, we know, is a good horse. There was plenty of pace on. I just liked how the race shaped up for her at that price, right?
Yep.
So I was really annoyed with myself that I forgot to get on. But well, it sets up a tantalising matchup between her and Orchestral,
mate,
for the Vinery and the Oaks.
Yeah. Speaking of, so there was 3 1,500 meter races at Rosehill. the slowest of the three was actually the Coolmore Classic. In a big handicap, I was a bit surprised by that. Mostly because my on-top selection, to my knowledge, didn't lead the race. Fair to say, I got that one wrong. But she was 40-1, so what do you lose?
Exactly.
Zardozi would have been in the Coolmore field by 1.5 lengths on raw times. But Democracy Manifest, one of the performances of the day, would have been the Coolmore field by 4.5 lengths, and they ran quicker time early and late. They've smashed the clock there. Now, I said to you yesterday, as I was inputting all these, like Democracy Manifest had 56 kilos.
Yep.
As well. Zougotcha had 57. I think Democracy Manifest has 51 in a Doncaster. He's ballot exempt now. Zougotcha has 51.5, so he gets the weight relief on Zougotcha. He'll be hard to beat. His pattern is against him.
Yeah,
that's the risk.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it is. Yeah.
He ran well in an Epsom though.
Yeah, look, the Doncaster will be a truly run race. They always are.
Epsom wasn't one of the
Epsom
worst.
Wasn't. Yeah,
one of the worst Epsoms in history.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah,
Koval League.
Redina. Where is he now?
That's a good question. Really good question. There's a few that are like, where are you? Where are you at the moment? Like, what was the one that we were talking about yesterday? I'm like, where is it?
Hawaii 5-0?
No, there's another one. We're like, where's that horse at the moment? Pretty sure it was a mare or a filly. Can't remember.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I think they were pretty much the highlights. I don't think, with all due respect, Drifting or Dublin Down are featuring in a slipper. Lindemann was interesting.
Yeah, he had to put him away.
Chris Waller said that. He's like, if he'd won by a long neck, I'd be concerned of how he's going.
Yeah, so, he had to put him away.
Like, compared to that field, like, he was versing like Stockman and Athabascan.
Just fine. What's going on?
So, Lizzie said on the broadcast, so they get some sensational mail sometimes. She said, I don't know where this horse is at. The stable have said that he's not going as well as they are in the spring. Now, I do admit, I'm obviously just a consumer of the content that's available. Didn't consume a lot of content last week, but Just Fine is that was his second run of the prep. I haven't heard anything from the stable say anything about that horse. So give the punters a chance. And thank you, Lizzie, for saying that. But what about the punters that hadn't heard that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but,
it's tough.
We couldn't have backed him off that first start, though.
And that's what we said. It's like, you need to see it again. Because he was scintillating in the spring.
Very good.
But yeah, that's his third really poor run in a row now. So,
yeah,
because he ended the prep poorly.
He did.
And that's what...
So we know he's not a 2,400 metre horse, and even though he had the light weight and the Metrop, maybe just busted him up, and he maybe just put a line through him in this prep, put him out to the paddock, bring him in up to Brisbane, Doomben Cup. Maybe that's the change that he needs.
Sunshine State.
Solves all problems.
It does.
Alligator blood rejuvenated up here.
That's true. Red Card was very good.
Bang, bang for your boy.
Yeah, and actually, I had her in those, when I was typing up everything, I had Red Card in there, and then I changed my mind. So that was frustrating. Airman was good. He just kind of, I think the big weight kind of like proved too much for that big fella. And then, I think that was about it, really. Miramaster was pretty flat in the first.
Yeah.
Like Buckets dropped a whip, which doesn't help.
Doesn't help, and it's just a bit of a sedate pace. So, that's not going to help. Not going to help him at all. Yeah. What else happened at Caulfield? Nothing really of note, to be honest.
Like Lem Picker was good. Like,
yep. Brudenell got absolutely jammed.
Brudenell was very smart. What's on by was solid. But yeah, we're talking like the season's done now. Like the regular season, we're into finals. Finals next week. Should be fascinating. Well, we're about to finish this one as Leo just signs us off. But then we'll kick off for our futures market preview for April.
Fascinating.
Well, should we have a look at the markets for the end of March real quick?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, because they won't be featuring in that. So I think the one that adds most interest to me at the moment is the Australian Cup, mate. That's possibly going to be a better field than Queen Elizabeth now.
Oh, we'll talk more about it in the futures, but anything in this country at 1,600 metres plus for the rest of the autumn looks absolutely dross, mate. It does. It's actually concerning. But anyway.
So the Australia Cup market, Mr. Brightside 330, Pride of Jenni $6, Gold Trip 7s, a Tissue 9s, Cascadian 9s, Riff Rocket 9s, Legato 13s. Then you have the likes of Young Werder at 13s. Pride Jenny's fascinating. If she runs out the 2,000, she'll be hard to beat. But the speed that she puts into that race brings in the likes of a Tissue and Cascadian, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like a Tissue at Flemington, like $9, like that. I like that. Or even Gold Trip as well, $7.
Yeah. What do we got? We got the Slipper, Rosehill Guineas, George Ryder, Ranvit, Billy Reid, Galaxy, all before the end of March, which we can talk more about on next week's podcast. Australia Cup. Yeah, that's actually a pretty fascinating race, to be honest. Legato, is she definitely going to go there?
I think so. Like, she's been knocked off a couple of times. That's why you're getting the $13.
I don't think she's a 2,000 metre horse.
Yeah.
Personally.
Like the Tancred.
Mate, the Tancred is... We'll talk more about it, but...
it's in March.
It's in March, so we're not talking about it. Well,
like,
mate, gold Trip, 2,400 metres, weight for age.
His Sydney leg is a bit icky. Like...
Yeah, I know, but like, what are you taking? You taking the $8 for him with Neds, or you taking the $9 for Arapaho?
Yeah. I don't know enough about this, like, post-impressionist.
Ash runs $12.
Yeah.
Shiraz is 15s, for God's sake, in the Tancred market, mate.
Shouldn't even be there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's concerning our weight for age ranks at the moment, mate.
Explosive Jack, who was 4 out 5 lame yesterday. That's why he ran so poorly. Like, he's at 21s. That's disgusting stuff.
Mate, Carini's 26s.
Like, where I could play a market like this? I can't even. I'm thinking of the Sydney Cup, rather, which that market will go into depth of. But, like, yeah. Who I could play in that market is like a Stockman at $26. And that's where that kind of like just sums up where everything's at.
Oh, mate, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Looking at that Tancred, if I was, as it stands right now, I'd be looking at that Tancred market. And if I was a trainer of Orchestral or Zardozi or Riff Rocket or something like that, and I'm thinking, I know I've got the Derbies and the Oaks and what have you, but I actually might have an easier time beating up the older horses than beating up my own age group, to be honest.
Yeah.
With the weight relief, weight for age over 2,400 metres, because, mate, it's thin.
Very thin.
Thin. You can't even spread that over your toast. You're eating dry bread. It's like, it'd be like open up a bloody packet of Wheat Bix and trying to eat that without any milk.
It's true. It is true.
Oh, it's so thin and dry and dross.
George Ryder's interesting. We will preview it next week, right? But with Fangirl out, like...
That's what I mean, mate. Like,
fascinating.
I'm looking at that George Ryder, and if I'm like I know it's not going to happen, but if I'm a Celestial Legend, I'm looking at that thinking, with some weight swing, I could knock some of these off.
Mate, so I hope to Christ he's still heading there, but Amenable, like, he was $51 when we brought it up on the podcast, right? He's into 17s now. And I have this multi going. I'll talk you through it. So the first leg yesterday was Zougotcha to place in the Coolmore and she was, because I got on this weeks ago, so she was $2.50.
Yeah.
So good shopping there. Let me read this out, right? So Zougotcha was the first leg, $2.50. Tom Kitten to place in the Rosehill Guineas.
Kitty Cat Tom. Imagine him at a Tancred, mate.
$2. Amenable to place in the George Ryder at $13.50. And he's into $4.20.
Shopping.
Sunshine in Paris in the Galaxy, $3.25 to place. And she's into threes. A Tissue to place in the Australia Cup at threes, just the same price. I Wish I Win to place in the TJ at $2.13. And then Zardozi to place in the Oaks at $2.75.
That's shopping. What's that going to get you?
Responsibly $23,000. Like, that's not the worst.
No.
That's not the worst I've heard.
That's not at all.
So, yeah, obviously you win some, you lose a lot more. But like, that's the areas that I'm playing around in. They're the waters I'm diving into.
Blue pill, red pill stuff.
Yeah. So, we'll hopefully, that's like throughout the rest of the carnival, but hopefully we'll have an all up here or there that you can follow. We're about to kick on into our April Futures Market separate podcast. Listen in for that.
See yous.